Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Shad Markwitz, and today we're getting an update on Dryden Gold Corp. Dryden's traded on the TSX.V under the ticker DRY and on the OTCQB under the ticker DRYGF. And I'm joined today with the president of Dryden Gold, Maura Kolb. And Maura, it's great to get you on the show to talk about some of the exploration work that's going to be going on in 2025 imminently, about to start in a week or two on the ground at your Gold Rock camp. Just for people listening in, the Dryden Gold District actually has three areas. It truly is a district camp. You have the Gold Rock camp, which we'll be talking about today in more detail, but there's also the area you're looking at with Sherridon and Hyndman that have regional targets, and we'll get into that as we go. But if we dial in on the Gold Rock camp, there's the Big Master area, Big Master 1 and 2. There's some regional targets, but really the lion's share of the work last year and moving into this year is going to be focused along the Elora gold trend. And Elora, you've put out some great drill results, some wide intercepts, some disseminated gold, but also some veining, some different areas that are showing both high grade and width. And there's a number of targets you've been drilling that have people's interest peaked. But I think, Maura, what's going to get people excited is as you get a permit, you're going to be able to drill some target areas that you just haven't been able to get the drill pads on before. So maybe walk us through some of the key targets on the Elora trend that you were looking at last year, but also give us a sneak peek at some of the main targets you're going to be able to drill in 2025.
Awesome. Thank you, Shad. Yeah, the Elora target is incredible. We are so pleased with the widths here. Now, we're looking for high grade Archean lode gold. And a lot of people think instantly that's a vein, that's narrow. And what I want to explain is that Elora is not like that. Elora is high grade gold disseminated through a shear zone. So there is some veining in it when you look at our core, but it's got width. Results we've had 30 grams over almost 6 meters, 15 over almost 7. And that's not just in one little area, that is disseminated throughout. And when we were at AME Roundup a few weeks ago, we actually brought one of the sections of Elora core so that the technical guys could see that there is high grade gold throughout that. And we're really looking at something that has width, which is why we're so excited about this Elora structure. Now, you mentioned we haven't really been able to test the area fully because we started out last year looking at where things had been historically drilled, trying to get a better understanding of the high grade controls of mineralization so that we could target them and be successful with the drill bit. We also wanted to just see all the different styles of mineralization we were working with. So we focused on what we call patented ground, where we didn't need a drill permit. We've applied for a drill permit now. We're kind of halfway through the phase of getting one. So we'll see that coming in the first quarter and be able to now expand to the northeast. To the northeast from Elora, where we've had these very sexy results, is a historic mine called the Laurentian Mine. That was 14-gram average grade when they were mining that. Now, this was at the turn of the century, mined with horse and buggies, real old-timer stuff. They only mined 10,000 tons, but that's a pretty incredible average grade. And it was really mined shallowly, only to 140 meters. Our deepest drilling to date is only at about 250, 260 meters on the Elora structure. So we have a lot to test here. I'm very excited about this first program that we're starting next week. That is going to test deeper on the Elora structure. We're aiming for 300 meters depth, which will be the deepest drilling we've done. And what we see on the structure is very good continuity so far. We've been able to produce very similar widths and results over and over again. So that's very exciting. Why I'm so excited about this year is being able to move to the northeast. The structure's not cut off there. There is a historic mine, the Elora mine, which only has a few pierce points, but also is showing high grade. So I'm excited to start testing that. And that's what you'll see us working on certainly earlier in this year as we start the drill program on Elora. But you'll have seen last week's results. We talked about one of our regional targets, Mud Lake. That happens to be an extension of this Elora structure to the northeast. Now, there's a east-west trending fault that we believe kind of cuts off mineralization. And then 2 kilometers from where we've been drilling now, we were able to find some pretty sexy new results, 24 grams per ton, but several intercepts over 5 grams found on surface through rock samples that we found on outcrops showing on surface. So pretty exciting, certainly gives us more targets. That's part of the exploration permit that we've applied for. So we'll be able to test this as big step outs too. So very exciting.
Well, let's dig into a couple of these targets as we head northeast, but let's actually start closer to where you have been drilling. And I will put on here a long section where people can actually see some of the holes that have been put in, and you can see that it's open at depth. So let's maybe just start with the area you've been drilling, and then right next to it, the historic Elora-Jubilee Mine. You talk about depth, and you also have a working model that the mineralization, Maura, is similar to Red Lake. And what we know about Red Lake is a lot of the juicy, higher grade areas are at depth. Some of those keep going quite a while, up to a kilometer down. So the fact that you're going to be drilling a little bit deeper, down to 300 meters plus, talk to us about what you could see at depth, how you think the system is pulling together geologically from a structural standpoint.
Yeah, thank you. So, a few different things on this. This structure is very steeply dipping. That gives us excellent potential for future mining. We were talking earlier today, I was talking about how this could be potentially long hole mining, very, very easy for that because it's so steeply dipping. What we're seeing at the 250, 260 mark is this continuation of nice wide shear zone hosted mineralization. So, as we step deeper, we expect that to continue. And typically in these systems, the reason they get better at depth is you start to transition between different, what we call metamorphic grades, but basically it's rocks that are breaking versus rocks that are acting like Play-Doh. So there's kind of a sweet spot where the gold falls out in the highest grades. And that's what we're after, is finding that sweet spot. And typically in these systems, it's a little bit deeper. So that is why we're so excited to start testing deeper. But to have the good results that we're having very close to surface, the 53,000 gram per ton on Big Master 2 is only at 75 meters deep. So we certainly have high grade near surface, and being able to find that sweet spot only gets me more excited. You mentioned these kind of deposits are typically really deep. Red Lake goes to a kilometer and a half. If you look at like Kirkland Lake and Timmins, they're down to 2 kilometers. So there's definitely a lot of legs, and we're very excited to test this structure deeper, which is why we're getting the exploration permit, but also see how much strike continuity we have. The historic Elora-Jubilee Mine is not very far away from where we've been drill testing to date. It's about another 100 meters, but we can't test that right now because we're limited to where we can put the drill on surface until we get this permit. So it certainly opens up a lot more potential and a lot more testing along strike. The Laurentian Mine is about a kilometer away from where we're drilling now, so that really opens up what we can test.
Well, and you brought up the Laurentian Mine, so let's go there next. So further up to the northeast of that trend, you have this Laurentian Mine that has some really higher grades historically. Haven't been able to drill it yet. Any areas there that you really want to get on the ground and do more targeting with, or do you have some drill targets ready to go there?
We would like to drill test that, and that is part of the exploration permit, where we're really excited to see where that northeast structure intersects with what we see as these kind of more east-west structures. And something that I haven't talked too much publicly about, but we've been working on, the mapping that we do during the summer, the oriented core that we do, so that's where we actually get the true orientation that the rock's at. We can measure all the different structures and their orientations. We're seeing a third north-south structure coming in. Now, this kind of trifecta can be really good for focusing gold mineralization. So we're starting to integrate that into our model as well. And I think that's something that'll be really key for the Laurentian Mine and our targeting of that drill program as we get the permit. And you'll see that coming up this year. So who knows, but certainly great grades historically. And that's one of the targets I'm most excited about testing.
Well, and Mara, between the Laurentian Mine and where you've been drilling, there's also an interesting kind of cross-cutting target here from Big Master, where there were some good hits. And often when you drill holes, you can actually cross the Big Master area and Elora area, even on the same hole. And you think that there's maybe a target midway between, let's say, the Elora mine and the Laurentian mine. Maybe talk to us about that target midway across the trend.
Yeah, absolutely. So we decided to test last year from Big Master 2, where the incredible, crazy high grade hit was, onto the parallel structure, Big Master 1. Now, we found a new high grade shoot there with 26 grams over 3 meters. But if we follow that structure to kind of east-west to the Elora structure, it has not been tested at all. It unfortunately doesn't outcrop. We went mapping this summer and we didn't find any outcrops to map and do clutch samples on, but that's certainly one of our drill targets for 2025. And another one I'm excited about because we've been able to trace these across and they seem to create extra cooling area basically for the high grade to kind of fall out of the solution. Just for people that aren't the geos, the gold travels through the rocks through solution, and where you have complexities like structures intersecting or folds or a very favorable host rock, that's where it'll fall out. So that's really important for us to be able to follow, and that's why we're so excited about these intersections of structures at Gold Rock.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see. And the fact that it doesn't outcrop may be why some of the old timers missed it. But with modern science and with a modern interpretation, put some drill holes in there and see what comes out of it. So exciting targets here all along this Elora trend. Now, as far as Big Master 1 and 2, do you have any work set up for 2025?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you asked. So we have been working on this, and I really want to take some of the knowledge that I have from my Red Lake days. And I'll just remind people, I spent 8 years in Red Lake, 5 of them as exploration manager. And I really got to deep dive into why zones were where they were there and what hosted that. And one of the things looking back in hindsight there that was really important that we could have learned earlier and saved lots of money was looking for specific host units. So these deposits are hosted within mafic rocks, but they're not all the same. Mafic rocks, we actually see several different layers in those rocks. So what we're working on right now is actually modeling up the different layers so that we can see where the best host rocks actually go, whether there's some subtle folding that we need to be able to model up to test successfully on Big Master. We know that that one is vein hosted, so it's a little bit more narrow. There's not as much to vector in on. So we want to get the science right before we go back and test that more. We have seen success deeper to the southwest, where we tested about 200 meters step out down to the southwest and intersected more high grade there, more like 200 meters. So we just want to get that right before we go back and test that. So there's a lot of interpretation work. It sounds boring, but it's very important because it drives more successful drill results in the future.
Well, and Maura, if we widen the scope even at Gold Rock even further, as we discussed earlier, you have other regional targets like Mud Lake or Mosher Bay that your team has been doing a little ground truthing on. But talk to us about just the prospective nature of this whole area at Gold Rock Camp.
Yeah, when we zoom out a little bit, and I have a cartoon in our deck that shows the Gold Rock Camp and basically the geometries that you see between the rocks and the fault structures, it looks so similar to the Red Lake Mine region. And that is about, 3 kilometers strike length in Red Lake. So, we're looking very similarly. The geology is very similar. Lots of great targets. Now, Mosher Bay is where there's a major intersection between an east-west structure and the northeast-southwest structure that we believe is the main control for high grade. That's called the Manitou to Norwick Deformation Zone. It's been compared to the Timmins Porcupine Duster Fault. So that's a really great comparison that we like and it's been done by other researchers from Metal Earth. So we're looking at that intersection. Our geologists did a lot of incredible detailed mapping there. Really interesting structures that could be great for hosting gold. And then Mud Lake, we put out some results like a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, that showed 24 grams at surface with several others that are over 5 grams. It's great to see that kind of results from surface rock sampling. That's not what you typically get when you start prospecting. So I'm really excited about that. It's not a big step out from where we're drilling. So that one is very much a target that we will continue to pursue this year. And you could very well see us drill testing it too, because the exposure is great and it gives us a lot to work with to be able to plan drill holes there. So I think it really starts to show that this could be significant enough to be, a deposit. And that gets really exciting.
Well, that is going to be exciting. And it doesn't stop there. If we zoom out even further, we would see that in addition to the Gold Rock Camp, which is what we've been talking about at all these targets so far, so Elora, the Big Master 1 and 2, Mud Lake, Mosher Bay. But if we scan back even further, you have two other areas of interest at Sherridon and Hyndman that are also regional targets. Your team has been doing a lot of work there. There's some historical work too. You're marrying up the data on that. Talk to us about these two other big regional targets.
Yeah. One of the things that got Centerra excited and is one of the reasons, it's probably the main reason they invested. But when I talk to the other major and mid tiers that are kind of following along and are interested in our story, they really like the fact that we have district potential here in the Dryden camp. When you look at Hyndman, for example, it is way to the east on our property package, but it is on the Trans-Canada Highway. You just can't go looking for deposits like this that have this kind of incredible infrastructure. The fact that Dryden Camp had been piecemeal for so long, had never been looked at in this kind of holistic approach that Dryden Gold is doing, it gives us such a leg up. We have incredible infrastructure and great targets. We had a 34 gram per ton hit from this summer program on surface, and that area has been clear cut by the forestry company, giving us so much rock to look at and so much more mapping to do. So it's incredible. That's inexpensive. It's a great way to make a discovery. When we go down to the south of Sherridon, we're on a similar kind of structure, an older east-west structure. There's again great road access from forestry work that had been done there. It's really incredible to have this kind of potential. And I think it will really give Dryden the chance to be a district camp, something like a Timmins or a Red Lake in the future, if we can pull this together and keep showing that we have different styles of mineralization and more here. So I guess we're dreaming really big, but it seems to be showing to be true more and more every day.
Well, and so when you say the Dryden Gold District, that's not just lip service. There really is a large land package here, lots of targets, lots of data stacking up, and you're going to be drill testing and doing a lot of other ground truthing this year in 2025. I guess let's tie it all together here, Maura. Like, summarize, how big will the drill program be? What will the balance be between pressing your bets along the Elora trend, but also testing some of these regional targets?
We have planned more than 50% of our budget is going to be on Gold Rock, expanding in this brownfields opportunity. A lot of that's going to be on Elora, and as we've done in 2024, we will be targeting this in phases. So we're starting drilling next week. We'll do a small program, get the results, adjust based on what happens there, what they mean, and then go forward to the next phase with all of that new data in hand. As we move along, you'll see we'll be able to drill all year round. We're planning about 15,000 meters, which will be dictated by what targets look best. We have about 33%, about a third of the budget planned for priority regional targets. Now that includes Hyndman, Sherridon, and then kind of these wider scopes on Gold Rock as well. We are also doing some really early grassroots kind of work. We completed LIDAR at the end of this year, which allows us to get a better handle and understanding on what the ground looks like. It helps us pick up on some of the fault structures and the network of faults that we need to know for these type of deposits, as well as we'll be doing some soil and till sampling, which gives us the geochemistry. So we have great geophysics we can use to guide our exploration. We have structural interpretation and a model, and then marrying that with the geochemistry gives us the ability to look for the related minerals and elements that tell us we're getting close to a gold deposit. So it's a very exciting year. It's going to be focused on growing gold rock, but also showing that we have a district play. And we're fully funded with $5.8 million for exploration. That's all flow through. It'll be spent in 2025. So you can expect a really busy, exciting year with lots of news.
Well, that's exciting. I was going to ask you that next, Maura. Do you have the money to do this? Do you got the money in hand to be able to execute on the program? About 15,000 meters, you're going to be doing deeper drilling. You're going to be drilling new targets. You're going to be doing regional targets, but also pressing your bet at Elora at some of those targets we highlighted at the onset. So it is an exciting year for Dryden Gold. And if for people listening in, if you want to follow along with the news flow, definitely click on the link below this interview. It takes you right over to the Dryden Gold website, straight to their news section, where you can sign up for updates or just follow along with the news as more assays or results are released to the market. Maura, keep us updated. We'll get you back on for an update. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of news flow. And as always, looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you very much.